Hey, what's up, team? This is Eddie Gray, and I want to talk to you about having issues with Logic Pro. There's a host of issues. The one that I was experiencing most recently was trying to perform some automation, and literally nothing was happening. Offline automation was happening, so when the playhead was stopped, I was able to make adjustments, and that worked out fine. But every time I wanted to perform online automation, it simply just wasn't working. So I would go into an automation mode, I would go into play mode, and whether I adjusted pan, a plugin parameter, a channel strip parameter, whatever it wasn't working. So when that happens, you're going to have to delete your plist file, and also you might want to delete your control surface file as well. Now, the only reason you would want to throw the CS is if you're having problems with MIDI, your control surfaces are not mapping properly. But the preference list is really the one to look at. Sometimes they get corrupt and you have to start all over again. So just a heads up, this is going to completely throw away all of your key commands. So if you've spent a lot of time making this work for yourself, you might want to hit the gear menu and then go into save as and just save them so that when you throw away all of your preference settings, you can kind of get back to normal, at least to some degree. The purpose of this video is just to kind of help you out this process. I know when I first started, this would have been helpful. So yeah, go ahead and take these out of the file path that we were talking about. And I guess I should highlight that now again. So that's your hard drive, users, whatever your name is, library, preferences, and look for those two files. Okay, so then you'll restart up Logic, and it's almost like Logic pretends that you're starting over again. You just met all over again. So you introduce yourself, you go back into the program, and you find that everything is back to square one. So what are my most preferred key commands and preferences? Well, I'll tell you right from the get-go, the very first thing I did was I went into General, Editing, and I enabled Select Regions on Track Selection and Select Tracks on Region and Marquee Selection. And the purpose of this is when I select this region here at bar 11, the track is selected, in this case track number 5. If you disable this, you can differentiate the difference between selecting a track, as I'm selecting track number 1 right now, and then a region, which is on bar 11. So if you like this is great for comping vocals. This is great for specific workflows, but just want to make sure you know how to do that. Also, I enabled fade tool click zone so that when I hover the pointer tool over any audio region, I can instantly access fade capabilities. Something else that I went to right away was limit dragging to one direction, because if you don't do that, what ends up happening is that moving regions and moving MIDI events feels really cumbersome, and so this just eliminates that. So if you're moving horizontally, you are just moving horizontally, and if you're moving vertically, you're just moving up and down, and so that's really nice. Immediately after that, I went to display and I enabled the first 5 options. I like a wide playhead. If you look at my playhead, it's thinned out and then it's a bit more visible by enabling this. And then I just disabled the last 2 because they just take CPU that, in my opinion, it's not worth it. Other than that, I made a couple of adjustments here on the mixer. I made sure these 2 were on. On the editors tab, I made sure that the piano roll was a bright background. That seems to work for my flow. And we'll go over more. I'm just giving you kind of my first initial thoughts. And let's see here. For me, the most important key command of all is stop or play from last position. And I like to assign that to Option spacebar. And so you're going to have to replace preview inside of the loop browser. And if you don't know what that does, when you're inside of the loop browser and you're looking for loops, the appropriate key command to preview them, to hear them back, is Option spacebar. But if you replace it with stop or play from last position, then you have to assign it with something else. And so to me, I decided to use Control Option Command spacebar. So again, let's say I'm back here and my focus is in the piano roll, I can hit that key command. I can stop it by hitting that same key command. Let's say maybe I want to check out this loop. Does that make sense? So now I can preview inside of the loop browser. I also really like, especially for beginners, I like to remove solo lock. So I already did that off screen. You want to go ahead and take this out, because if you don't, it could be really harmful for your screen. You get into this mode where everything gets dimmed out. Let me show you what it looks like. It looks like this. And you're not sure what's going on, and you're trying to click on stuff and nothing's working, and it can be really confusing. So this is called solo lock state. And so yeah, just go ahead and remove that altogether so you don't hit that by mistake. But while we're here, let's go ahead and customize the control bar and display. I think for most users, we should have this set up as the LCD screen. I do like positions. I don't need to see the locators and where they are positioned, so I'm going to remove that. What else is important? Tempo, definitely. Key signature, project, and most def. This is all going to work for me. I like to eliminate, replace. I'll throw in auto punch. Seems to be something that I use a lot. Software monitoring has become really prevalent in my workflow, so I want to use that. I really like pre-fader metering, so when I'm actually recording a live signal, I have a really good sense of what that is on the way into Logic, so I'm going to enable that. This is only pertinent if you record live instruments. If you're all in the box, it doesn't matter. Low latency mode is obviously important. Let's see, anything else? No, I think this is good for me. I'm going to remove the master volume because you shouldn't touch that anyway. And is there anything else here for me? Nope, I think that's good. Maybe I'll just enable capture recording for fun. But all of this stuff I have played with, and I don't necessarily need it in my workflow. I'm going to save this as my default so that every time I come back to the session or the dojo, I can always apply those settings. Let's go ahead and configure the track header by hitting Option T. How do you like to look at your tracks? Well, I want to make sure that I can see the on and off button. I personally really like to protect nowadays. Freeze function is cool. I don't use it that much, so I'll do away with that. And then something to look out for too inside of your preferences in the advanced icon. Make sure all this stuff is on. If you don't use surround sound, you can turn that off. If you don't use the score editor, you can also turn that off as well. Let's try and do a couple more key commands. I personally like setting up the plugin manager under Command P rather. So let me go ahead and learn by key label, hit Command P. What am I going to replace? Print. Well, I don't really do any printing around here, so we are good. Plugin undo. There are specific commands to undo within the plugin window. That's actually a good way to go. If you click on any plugin, Logic offers the ability to include plugin undo steps so that when you hit Command Z, you essentially can undo this. So I just made a move. I'll hit Command Z. But the only reason that's possible is because I enabled it. So I'm going to use that feature rather than having a specific key command. For me, I don't know about you, but there's only so many key commands that I can actually learn. So, you know, I like to pick my spots. So the plugin manager, this is where you want to go ahead and make sure everything is where it needs to be. For example, do you have plugins that you're not using anymore? Do you have unauthorized plugins that you should be deleting or that you need to successfully validate? So go to the Show All tab and just go through your list. You can see I have some that I have purposefully disabled just because I don't use them. I'm trying to get to this point now where I'm just not using certain plugins anymore. This one here, I cannot find, and so I can't delete it. If you go into your components folder, I'll show you where that is. I've taken some time here to kind of save all of the various settings inside of Logic. So I think that's really helpful when you first get started. You can see all my components folders are here. And when I look for Mix Checker, I have Mix Checker Pro, but I can't find the other version for some reason. Maybe what I'll do is I will search Mix Checker, and maybe I'll find it this way. But yeah, I've been looking for that and I haven't been able to delete it. When you delete the AU component, it won't show up in that list anymore. So I'm deleting any and all associated folders. We will live to tell that story another day. But this is kind of the process. Find the components folder. Where is the components folder? Here, I'll give you the file path again. This is inside of hard drive, library, audio, plugins, components. These are all of your third-party plugins that you have downloaded from a distributor, another manufacturer. These are not Logic plugins per se. And sometimes they're outdated or you simply just don't want to use them anymore. And so you want to go in here and clean house. I do recommend, if you get the chance, to save all of this stuff on the side. So I have a desktop drive and I just save all of these installation files and AU folders just to kind of keep my head in the game. And if I have to troubleshoot, I've already done all that work in advance. And so this is it. This is the world of starting over. Lots more tips coming your way. This is Eddie Gray signing off with resources for the modern creative. Go ahead and stay up, stay happy, keep evolving, and I will see you on the next one.